I'm making plays. I'm making hits. I'm making plays. I never miss. Haters gon' hate. Yeah, they gon' hate. But look at the clips. Just look at the clips. At the end of the day, I was made for this shit, dog. I was made for this shit. Nothing but green grass in my view. Hit him for 50 yards up the middle. All of my rushes are ready to move. Tell your quarterback, head on the swivel. Came all this way, so we hungry as hell. If we ain't winning, we ain't leaving the field. Overtime, now the shit getting real. Double overtime, shoot for the kill. I put it all on my shoulders. Give 100 till it's over. All of this ice in my veins. Tell me, how could there be anyone colder?
What is up, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome to another episode and live stream of Arrowhead PM, powered by Chiefs Kingdom. I'm your host, Dominic. We got our man, DG. We got Corey, and we got Richard, and possibly Trizzy as the time goes on. Obviously, you can check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, which you can be watching us right now live, as well as X or Twitter or whatever Elon calls it these days. This is Arrowhead PM. We got a lot to talk about. Obviously, we're getting ready for the draft that's coming up in 3 weeks. I don't even know. The days are all melding all together.
3 weeks from tomorrow.
Let's do it. And we got a lot of exciting stuff for that. But so today we're going to go over wide receivers. We're going to go over DBs, and we're going to go with that random player that I asked each of you guys to pick for us to look at. And then we're going to go over right now some of the big news that came out, which is the NFL has now had a couple of rule changes. Some have included touchbacks will now be on the 35-yard line. So it encourages more kickoffs, which I felt like last year, even though it was a big drastic change, actually ended up being a success in a lot of people's eyes, especially a lot of the NFL higher ups. Replay assist is now going to be able to help flags be picked up for hits for defenseless players, face mask calls, horse collar tackles, tripping and running into / roughing the kicker. But you cannot add flags that should have been called for a penalty if you're doing the replay assist. So there's one of the flaws there. Over time, you know, we suggested this in 2019, but now it's overtime is given both teams a possession in the regular season. We'll go into detail for that, but now both teams will have possession unless the team has the ball for an entire 10-minute period, which can be very possible with some of these teams in the league. Another great rule added: first downs will now be electronically measured using a Hawkeye system. We'll talk about that, but obviously the tush push, the discussions for the tush push or the brotherly shove or whatever you want to call it these days, that stuff is being pushed back till May. And then the legal tampering period, now teams can have one phone call with up to 5 potential free agents during this tampering period. A lot to go over, but I think the main ones, especially with Chiefs fans, have to do with the overtime possession rules and the measured electronically Hawkeye system. DG, you seem to have some opinions on these rules. What you got, man?
No, I don't have no opinions. You know, if you cry enough, then you get rules changed. Guess that's the way it works in Buffalo. You just go ahead and just whine and complain, and then you get rules changed. You're welcome. Now both teams get to possess the ball. Now we get to measure the first downs with cameras now. Oh, good for Buffalo. Way to go.
There's no way that could go incredibly wrong, guys.
They still never win in the Super Bowl.
There's one thing I know about technology: it will always find a way to fail you in the worst possible moment. So I already know how that's going to go when it comes to first downs, even though I get it. Look, the only thing I'm going to say on the overtime thing is I'm just glad they finally picked one. It's been stupid for like a decade plus now, where the regular season is different from the postseason. I'm just glad they picked one. Do I necessarily agree with it? I'm more of a fan of sudden death myself, but I'm just glad that we finally picked one and we can get some sense of uniformity back. That's all I ask.
Yeah, I'm not too particularly mad about the overtime thing, but the measuring the first downs with cameras and lasers and
look, it was going to happen eventually, man. I mean,
I knew it was gonna happen, but like it
we're
only
getting
happened.
robo umps in baseball. Like, come on now, it was
You
going to happen.
cried, like you cried the whole playoffs after you lost. It just rubs me.
It felt like a
way.
media tour of like just
Oh,
what
There's a
everyone was
who's
talking
who of
about.
Bills people being
he
like,
was
"Hey,
he was
you know,
close to the first down. He was close enough.
Here's what I'll say about like
show you
that
this one slowed down
specifically.
video."
And I think the replay assist is also something that's probably going to irk a lot of people. Because, you know, the added rule of you can't add penalties or this, that, and the other if you see it on the replay assist. So if there's like an egregious holding call, it's not like they can go back and be like, actually, there's a holding call. It's you focus on what happens on the play. But I think the thing is that a lot of people are pissed off about with certain things is that now that gambling has become such a huge part of sports in general, like you cannot have any flaws as a referee in any sport. All these things add up to the point where it's like, you know, obviously players have gotten death threats for missing a field goal, and now refs are getting death threats for, you know, missing a holding call or not correctly calling a strike, or just, you know, all these things, to the point where it's like now we're overcorrecting by using technology and being right, where the point is it's going to just kind of brings the human element of refereeing out of the equation. And I think that's just part of all sports. Like there's never going to be a perfect system. So I think it's going to
only if you cry enough.
Yeah, if you cry about it enough.
If you cry about it, then it gets changed. So
yeah.
So, maybe
Jody, shout out to Jody from Cadence Queens. I hear you. Don't suck, but you know it. Look,
maybe the Chiefs should cry more,
or
considering
maybe don't run the same play 5 times and hope for a different result. How about that?
And considering that this QB is probably the one that's benefited from most of those flopping calls that can now be reviewed.
Brother. But he doesn't get enough respect. Jesus. But, you know.
We gave him MVP.
But we didn't give it to him sooner, DG.
Oh, my God.
Well, he doesn't get all the calls, DG.
He wasn't first team All-Pro, DG.
He's not on the Madden. Actually, no, he is on the Madden cover. Never mind. But
he was on the Madden cover on a down
never mind.
year.
He was on the Madden cover. Well, then there you go. You know,
I got a 10-year-old niece, and she don't cry as much as Buffalo fans do, man. Like, goodness, this is crazy. Yeah, I digress. Whatever. Congratulations, Buffalo. You got what you wanted.
You might. I made a post about it. I'm like, I wonder what rule is going to be changed next year. God forbid if they lose again to us.
They got two.
They
got
might
two
as well.
here.
Tell him now he can wear the actual red shirts they wear in practice. Josh Allen's gonna have one of those on next year. Mark my words.
It's nasty. That's nasty work.
It's
all you gotta do is cry.
Yeah, man. Are you guys? This is nothing to do with probably Chiefs or anything, but do you think the Tush Push is actually going to get banned in May, or do you think it's going to have one more year?
No,
there's not. I don't think it ever gets banned.
I don't think it. Yeah, it's. Look, I get where people are coming from on the safety aspect, but just play better. Don't get into 4th and 1 or less yard situations to where they get to abuse the fact that they have a 330-pound offensive line across the board and quarterbacks that can make that play. It's football. Line it up and go again.
Yeah, I don't see the issue. I don't really see what the issue is with it. Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It's funny that the team that's complaining about it the most, the team that got whooped
Green Bay
in the playoffs.
It's all the young coaches because, like, even Sean McVay is getting pissed off about it, and Raheem Morris. And...
Like, it's not like they didn't have a chance to win that game. Like, they still had a chance to win the game too. They just didn't.
The tush push thing to me is like, it is what it is, man. If you can't stop it, then I don't know what to tell you.
I think
I'm not gonna sit here and complain about it at all, though.
I think the one interesting thing that I've heard since this has become a topic is what Mark Schlereth brought up, and Mark Schlereth, but he mentioned about how there was a rule that was changed later in his career where there was a point on field goal blocks where they would push a guy to get through to be able to block the field goal. Yeah. And then that got banned because they wouldn't let the defense players push each other to get through, and said that was a detriment to health. But when it's the offense, it's not a big deal. I think that's his argument. I kind of see where he's come from on that. But I think if that were me personally, if you're going to do that, you might as well let both sides push, but then that might ruin the product a lot.
That's the only way it's gonna change is if a player gets hurt or in it.
Yeah,
then it'll change. Until then, it's not changing, man. And I wouldn't want it to change at this point, just because, like I said, if you can't stop it, then sorry, I don't know what to tell you.
What do you want from me? You know?
Yeah, like, it's football, dog. Like, so be better. I don't know. Do better. Don't cry about it.
Where I'm at.
Yeah. It's hard, man. It's just, I think it's gotten to the point where it's like, if it's not banned, some coaches are gonna be pissed. But it's like, what do you do? I mean, like, if it's not really hard, the only argument I see a lot is that it's an ugly play. But like, not all football is beautiful, bro.
Football is not a sexy game.
It's not supposed to be sexy. We're not.
You're hitting.
It's a bunch of 300-pound dudes pushing up against each other, trying to stop a guy from going 1 yard or less. It's not supposed to be sexy, guys. I promise you.
Listen, but you know how it actually would have been banned if the Bills got to the Super Bowl and they lost by tush pushes.
Oh Lord. Yeah, that maybe
or the opposite way is you would have seen a combined like 25 of them, and
because they both do it.
Everybody's just like, all right, guys.
That's what needed to happen. Buffalo needed to make the Super Bowl.
They really wanted to
and lose, and they complain about it, because when they cry, things definitely get changed.
Oh man, Christian!
Oh my God!
And he got hurt too.
I will forever respect that man for trying something different.
That was the weirdest way to stop.
It's really only one way to stop it, and it's literally try to get lower than them.
It's also try to see if they get a false start, honestly.
Yeah. Try to get lower than them, and but what you've seen is that other teams can't duplicate it.
We've even tried to do it a couple times, but that's when we put Tommy Townsend under the middle of the block.
The day I don't see a tight end sneak again will be too soon. Please never again.
Well, so unfortunately we did lose Corey to the internet. So thanks that. But he is listening through YouTube, but I'm going to present his players the best I can. But we are going to go through wide receivers, DBs, and just a miscellaneous player. Obviously, we got to start off with probably the wide receiver. The Chiefs fans are just praying to God falls to us on the first round. I know when it comes to the conversation of who do you draft first, people are saying DTs. This guy, Luther Burton, out of Mizzou. He's just a different guy. He's really good at one-on-ones. If you are a Mizzou fan, you know how great he is. A lot of untapped potential. Physical. He's got the speed. Him and Mahomes with Worthy and Rice. It makes sense. And he's fast as hell. And the thing is even though he had a down year last year, he still produced and is getting the respect he so rightfully deserves as a prospect. I mean, my opinion is if he's at 31, you just gotta get him. You just gotta.
Yeah, I like his ball skills. I like his ability to win contested catches. I just want to point this out. I feel like the only reason this is a conversation is because Brady Cook was his quarterback. And so the down year he had has a few people fooled into thinking that maybe he's not actually a first round wide receiver. This guy's a first round wide receiver. I would be shocked, quite frankly, if he falls all the way to 31. But I certainly wouldn't say no. Especially if the board falls that way, where if it's got to be a decision between giving Patrick Mahomes another weapon in the offense and supplementing the defensive front, I would probably, even though I'm Team DT, I want to get a bona fide dude in the DT room. I would not say no to Luther Burden in this offense with Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I think the main thing that probably is the reason why he's maybe dropping is just he doesn't. I don't feel like he has an elite quality about him. I think he's a very good receiver as far as this class, and that's probably one of the main reasons why he's not being, more touted to being at the top of the draft. I feel like there's some guys that are ahead of him, like Ted McMillan, and trying to think of who else would be in front of him too. Probably who would I put in front of him?
Well, depending on who you talk to, Matthew Golden,
Yeah,
maybe Emeka Ibuka,
and
your mileage
that's probably
may
just
vary.
from testing.
Yeah.
I think those guys have probably shown a little bit more explosion in their games than Luther Burden has, and that's probably just due to in the scouting process. I think on tape and on the field, once he gets on the field, he can shine. Maybe needs a little bit of refining to his route running, a little bit. Probably not as polished of a route runner as people would like or whatever. I do agree with Rich. I think a lot of his negativity is coming from the fact that Brady Cook sucks.
I don't like it when I see guys just not
mm-hmm.
like you say in basketball when they're not moving without the basketball, when he's not moving without the football. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
That's not great. That's not what you want to see, and that's certainly not what NFL coaching staffs necessarily want to see.
Right.
They want to see effort on as many plays as possible, even when you don't have the football coming to you.
Yeah.
But I think there was a certain point in the season with Missouri where the man was just kind of frustrated with the direction of the offense and what everybody was doing on a down-to-down basis. So I can't necessarily say I blame him, but at the same time, you gotta rein that in some, so it's not so visibly apparent.
Yeah.
So that's got to be something that's got to get handled, which I think most NFL coaching staffs will handle that.
Yeah.
So I don't see it as that big of a problem.
Yeah. I did
anyway.
See that there were some scouts that said that they questioned his his ability to beat press man coverage. Just because I guess in Missouri he didn't face a lot of press man coverage at points in time. And transferring to the league, that's something that you'll probably see a lot better technique at it as well too from a lot better DBs. So I can see why that would be a concern. Just because coming into the league is tough, man. When you get up here now, you have to really showcase who you really are and can you adapt and change. And people can question that at points in time, and I think that's a fair question for Luther Burden. So I think he's talented, but I just think that there's some guys ahead of him that just possess probably more elite qualities than he does. So, yeah.
Valid criticisms, but probably most Chiefs Kingdom isn't listening to that and just praying to God that Luther shows up. if we're being fair,
half the kingdom is Mizzou fans.
Highlights look great.
Yeah.
Everybody's highlights look great, but you gotta, if you want objective analysis, you gotta point that stuff out.
What do the negatives say? If your strengths outweigh your weaknesses, then yes, then we can.
Then you will be just fine, and you will be drafted. No, you don't got
weaknesses are a glaring hole. Then it's a problem.
For sure. The next guy up, DG's wide receiver from U State, Jalen Knowles. Tell me about Jalen Royals. Sorry, dang, Jalen Royals. Tell me about Jalen Royals.
Yeah, man. This is a guy I feel like if you want speed, he's your guy. Vertical, very much a vertical threat. I think he could potentially possess a little bit more refinement to his route running as well. I just think that that's something that Utah probably didn't really ask him to do a whole lot of. He was probably more so asked to just stretch the field for them, and he did it very well. 6 foot, 200 pounds. I think he possesses the size and ability that you would like as an outside X type of receiver. Natural hands, catches the ball really, as you see right there, catches the ball really well with his hands, not his body, as well. It's got great body control as well. Played basketball in his past, so a lot of scouts were talking about his abilities and how that translates to the field and moves like a point guard on the field at the receiver position. Biggest weaknesses they feel like are his experience, elite talent. As of course playing at Utah State, you don't see a lot of elite talent like that. So him translating that to the league could be a little bit of shaky. Route tree needs a little bit, like I said, needs a little bit of refinement, a little bit underdeveloped, especially at the short and intermediate levels. And that can be a cause for concern because that's something I know that for sure, even if you are the fastest receiver in the world, Andy Reid will ask you to run those short and intermediate routes. But, man, I would love to see him on a crossing route from Patrick Mahomes across the field because you're not catching him once he gets in open field. I think he'd be a perfect fit for what they like. I think he's got a lot of upside and talent that the Chiefs can obviously use at this point in time. And I don't think that you have to be. He's not going to be one of those guys you have to spend a day 1 pick on, or maybe even a day 2 pick on. Or he could be a day 3 guy that you find a diamond kind of in the rough or whatever. Wouldn't mind taking him also in the 3rd round as well either. I think he just brings a lot of explosion to a team. Chiefs have already met with him at the Senior Bowl, so I feel like he is on their radar. They know what he's capable of at this point, so I think he'd be a great pick for them. I wouldn't have too many expectations of him his first year. I think he'd be more just brought in to kind of, like I said, help stretch the field with Xavier Worthy, but it pays to have what you can't never have enough fast guys on your team. So, especially with talent like his. So, Jalen Royals, man, I would love for him to be in KC. Think he'd be a great fit here.
I like his speed. I like how Utah State utilized him to exploit coverages, exploit matchups. obviously his speed is how he beats man coverage.
Mhm.
So I'm curious as to how he would fare consistently playing press man, kind of like how people have questions about Luther Burden the same
Yeah.
way.
Yep.
And his injury is still a little concerning to me, though he was able to come back and test and do all that good stuff. So he put the measurables out there for people. But I don't hate it. Would he be my first pick in day 2? Probably not, but he fits in that style of receiver. I would say he's maybe a little less refined. I'd agree than like a Jalen Noel in terms of the route running, but he catches pretty much anything that's thrown at him. He's able to he's got the speed that Andy Reid likes, so I could see where he would have a role in this offense overall.
I think you can't go wrong with another speedy guy, like you said, especially in an Andy Reid offense or West Coast style offense. And because he was at Utah State, there might be some questions about being able to play in big moments for sometimes because the competition's not like SEC or even Big 10 or even Big 12. But I mean, you watch the screen and he outruns a lot of people.
Utah had their hands full with him, so I will say that much. He definitely put a couple Utah DBs on the highlight reel. So
there's some things like you see in here that he does that obviously Andy Reid would ask him to do very well. And I think that that's why he would, to me, in my opinion, he would be a fit. He can do things like this, taking a screen 20, 25 yards, or if he gets, like I said, one of those crossers over the middle of the field, he can house it from 60 or whatever. So I just think that the way Andy has designed his offense and being able to get guys open without having to be such a nuanced route runner, I think would really fit well with this system being in KC. So plus the extra added motivation that I know a lot of people are going into this year, but they're not going to know who Jalen Royals really is until he hits the league. So that extra added motivation I feel like would give him a lot big chip on his shoulder coming into his first year.
And you think he's a late day 2 or an early day 3 pick?
I think he's definitely an early day 3 guy. Day 2 would be a little high, if you ask me. I feel like if a team took him at that level, they'd probably be reaching a little bit, or the board just fell. Really, there was just a big, massive run on receivers at that point in time. I wouldn't be surprised at it, but I think it'd be a little bit of a reach on day 2. Especially with how top heavy this receiving class is.
Gotcha. All right. We are up with Rich, and his pick is, I think we talked about him before in a mock draft with Corey, but we got from Ole Miss. We got wide Trey Harris. Rich, tell us about Trey Harris.
So Trey Harris, if you watched Ole Miss's offense, and stop me if you've heard this before, they love this. They love to go fast. They love to spread out the ball. And if you're a receiver in this offense, you probably got at least 50 targets in their offense, which is why people are talking about Jackson Dart so much in this cycle. Trey Harris is one of the biggest reasons why his speed, his measurables may not jump off the screen at you in terms of what he did at the combine, but he's just, what you see on tape here is just he's see ball, catch the ball, make a guy miss, and go get yards after the catch. He's consistent. He has enough speed that he can set up guys in zone coverage. He consistently finds the soft spot, and he's one of those I like to dub more quarterback friendly receivers that you can place him in pretty much any scheme, and he has the size, the strength to go get you a first down, go get you that 6-7 yards that you need if you need a field goal. And he has the explosive potential. It didn't always show up on tape as much as you'd like from somebody who was pretty much the number one wide receiver in a pass-heavy offense. But he shows you the strength. He shows you the want to go get those tough yards when he needs to, and he can go up and high point the football because he's got the size to go do so as well. So I find him to be this kind of little all-around wide receiver. He's a guy you can trust to come into an offense and stick in a role, and he's going to do everything that you need him to do. And I think he has the upside to go develop into, if not a wide receiver 1, a really good wide receiver 2 out the gate.
Yeah, I feel like Trey is probably in this class is one of those guys that's probably a traditional X receiver. You're solely going to play him predominantly on the outside, and I would expect that just like that he's going to win his matchup one-on-one. Guy I think they can really beat press man. Something that they see a lot, especially in the SEC, and I think he thrived in it last year. So, yeah, I'd be really, really interested in getting him. I think if you're getting him, you probably, might need to take him on day 2 for sure, if not day 1. I wouldn't be surprised if it's some team really liked him day 1 as well. Either it's just it'd be kind of a shock though. But yeah. I love Trey Harris, love his game. Definitely would love to have him here. Think he would be a massive help, especially if the Chiefs were to lose Rashee Rice for a period of time off suspension. I think he could step in and do that role for them extremely well.
I'm liking what I'm seeing. I didn't watch a ton of college football except for just the playoffs or bowl games. Yeah. But seeing his physicality, the way he is in that traditional one-on-one X role, like you guys said, and winning against SEC level defenders, and just seeing how he attacks space is also very refreshing to see. I like it. I like the physicality. I think that's what I want from a Chiefs receiver, and I think that's what I'm going to bring up with the receiver I chose. But I like a receiver with a little oomph and a little physicality, especially for this offense, because it's not that I don't think we have that, but it wouldn't hurt to have some extra bodies,
Normally with guys his size, you would expect them to be in a lot more body catching, contested catch situations, but the way he's just he just goes out and attacks the ball. He doesn't always let it come to him. He's quarterback friendly in that he knows when to slow down. He knows when to let the ball come to him when his quarterback's putting touch on the ball. I just think he's just got this combination of smarts and feel for coverage that Patrick Mahomes would be really happy with.
I'll tell you one thing, they love throwing this dig route to him. For sure.
Man, he ate DBs up on dig routes, man. They could not cover him.
Yeah. Seen a lot of digs and a lot of back shoulders.
Man, if you ever wanted, for people who wanted Justin Ross to be that back shoulder fade, dig, and go up and get the ball type of guy, this is the guy that you actually want in this offense.
Right.
If you wanted that, this is your guy.
Heck yeah. Trey Harris, good receiver, good prospect. I'm excited to see where he goes if it's not.
This would be day 2. This would be round 2 for pretty much any team for me that needs a wide receiver easily. You can set if he's there and you want a receiver, send the pickup. I could see him fitting in just about anywhere.
Yeah, if he falls to day 3, there's a problem.
Yeah, something happened.
Something went wrong.
So something happened. He did something stupid or something I don't know what.
Bad.
All right. So the wide receiver I'm gonna present is from Iowa State. You've probably heard of him. His name is Jaden Higgins.
The other Iowa State wide receiver.
Iowa State had pretty good wide receiver production, obviously, but clearly I'm picking a type. I want a big body receiver that can catch 50-50 balls in tough situations. He's not the fastest guy, obviously. He's like a 4.5 kind of split. Got good vertical leap and everything, but I think the thing is I just want a physical receiver that can just knows the routes they needs, great hands, and just a big guy. He's 6'4", so a big receiver can catch those big contested catches, especially since we thought that was going to happen with a older D-Hop, but I'm not going to talk about D-Hop. But I don't need super speed, but if talking about like that power slot that Andy Reid likes, and I know we have that in Juju, but the potential's there.
Yeah.
And I like the ability for him to just jump up and catch the ball. He might not be the best fit, but at some point there's going to have to be a moment where Andy or Brett Veach kind of draft outside of what they usually do in order for maybe the offense to evolve even more. And one of these days we'll see that. But I like what Jaden Higgins brought to the tape based off what I've seen. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. If this is not the pick you guys think, then totally cool with that.
No, I would take him. To me, I think the fit is what probably keeps him from not being a Chief. Typically, in past years, the Chiefs haven't drafted guys like this, or if they do usually take them, they're usually UDFAs that they like to bring in. I think he has phenomenal body control and an impressive catch radius as well too. And I mean, he's 6'4", so that should be a given. But I just think maybe there is some things, like I said, would probably like Burton. Maybe it's just a thing that he doesn't have possessing elite quality at this point in time, and that probably make him a day 2 or day 3 guy. Uh, you know, obviously would probably be a good receiver or somebody. I just think the fit for them wouldn't probably be there. But I agree. I do think that at some point you do kind of have to adapt and change and kind of go out of your comfort zone a little bit. It'd be nice to see the Chiefs do a lot more of these things, a lot more back shoulders, a lot more, those digs or whatever to bigger guys, especially in the red zone area as well too.
Hang on, Dad.
I think that's the spot.
Hold on.
So,
Doing.
but yeah, yeah, I just think the fit for us wouldn't probably be there, and that's probably what keep him from not being a Chief. But other than that, I don't think it would be based off of talent or anything like that. So,
personally, I feel like if the Chiefs ever went for a prospect like that, where it's a big body 50-50 kind of catch guy, it would have to be if it was like just a can't skip talent in the first round if they're in the early parts. Like if for some odd reason they don't do well first season in the Mahomes era, but at some point they're going to do it. It's just a matter of when, and just if they feel like the guy would be perfect with Mahomes.
Yeah, my thing with Jaden Higgins is I wish he would play more like he's 6'4" and not be so much of a body catcher. I wish he would do more things like that, where he would go out and use his length, snatch the ball, and it just doesn't always seem very fluid to me. Even though he ran, a 4.47, he's not really the route. He kind of curves his routes. It's not as crisp. It's not as fluid.
Mhm.
Him being a bigger guy, I understand that,
Yeah.
but
That's probably what helped him.
yeah, it probably did. But at the same time, it's just not. It's not your prototypical wide receiver that you would want to see in a lot of NFL offenses these days. I think he could make it as a contested catch possession receiver.
Yeah.
But man, he's not Keon Coleman, but man, it gives me a little bit of a worry.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking at with Jaden Higgins a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not that much in terms of separation and things like that, but
Yeah.
if you're a fan of reception perception, he needs to expand his route tree and have a little bit more consistent success, I would say.
Yeah. I did see some people talking about his release off the line needs a little bit of work or refinement, is what they say. Kind of what that tells me is that at the next level, it could get to a point where if he goes against a corner that's just as big as him that has great technique, that he'd struggle as far as getting off the line and trying to kind of get lost in the wash a little bit or whatever. That's what happens when you get to the league, man. You can't rely basically on your size anymore. You kind of have to start relying more on your technique and your ability, what you can do. So,
And I think Higgins would probably be more of like a little bit of a project to develop. And I think being able to work on the route tree and working on release, like you said, with an NFL franchise that focuses on it, I think that'll be more beneficial for him than being like a day one starter X kind of deal. But you never know. Jane, he might be a Chief. We never know.
Right.
Now we're on to the DBs. Now I forget. Were you DG? Were you Benjamin Morrison?
No, that was me.
Okay, we're gonna go with Rich here. Notre Dame, the team that lost in the national championship, has good DB and Benjamin Morrison.
Probably part of the reason why that was they didn't have this guy with him with them for that game. He unfortunately got hurt and missed most of the year, which definitely does not help his stock.
Yeah.
They say he's healthy, but he, to my knowledge, I don't think was able to do any testing outside of his pro day.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% on that, but they say he's healthy. They say he's ready to roll. So if that is the case, what he has shown to me is he's got a great nose for the ball. He's got great instincts to go attack the ball in the air. He's got a great feel for coverage, be it man or zone. I think probably more of a zone guy than he is a man guy at this stage of his football career. So he probably has a little bit more to develop there. But I love his instincts. I love how he attacks the football. And he attacks through receivers, not into them. So he's not committing a lot of penalties. He is physical in the run game. He's not afraid to go mix it up. And I know Spags definitely wants to see that in his corners. So if he's healthy and he plays like he did in 2023 and to start this past season, I would love to just kind of complete the trio of having Trent McDuffie, him, and then having Fulton
and Watson
also on the outside, with Watson being corner number 4 to give guys snaps in either 5 DB sets or however Spags is feeling that day when he wants to mix it up with exotic looks. So
yeah, if you want a technician, Benjamin Morrison is your guy. Elite man, press man, great route recognition. I think it's kind of obvious it is a given because playing in Notre Dame is obviously not easy. Um, especially at the level that they play at. Being an independent school, they play a lot of teams, a lot of different teams at points in times because they can create their own schedule. But yeah, Benjamin Morrison is definitely a technician, true elite outside press. You see man cover corner. It's got good recognition skills in zone as well too. Comes up and tackles. I really feel like he definitely would be a Spags guy just because he's so smart, and just plays with his head on fire for real. But also plays with in control of that as well, and that's something that a lot of scouts love to see. Yeah, I'm with Rich. I think the only thing that's probably holding him back at this point is that he wasn't healthy. So that's probably
They had to. He was their best man corner, which is why they had to go to primarily zone for pretty much the rest of the season.
Would be the reason why Jeremiah Smith torched him.
Jeremiah Smith had a field day. It was tough to watch. And
if Benjamin Morrison played, it'd probably be a different story.
If Benjamin Morrison was there, man, they would have had a better chance. I'm not going to say they would have won that game, but they probably wouldn't have had to play 99% zone coverage the entire game.
But a lot of teams had to play zone coverage against Jeremiah Smith.
Yeah. You would know. You would know.
Yes. I know all too well. Yeah.
I'm sure you know about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, now, I think he would be a lock. It'd be a 100% lock as a first round corner if he didn't get hurt, and there's still that little bit looming of is he going to be 100% and still play like he played at Notre Dame?
Yeah,
I think he probably still has a chance to be a first round receiver or to be a first round corner, but we'll just have to see.
So you're projecting more of a second round?
If he doesn't go in the first, I think that somebody will spend a top 40 to 50 pick on him.
Yeah.
Just because the production is there, the measurables are still there, and the tape just speaks for itself at this point. But if you're going to take him in the first round, you are either really, really sure you can get him healthy and get him playing like he can play, or you're just really, really in need of a corner and love him as a prospect.
Yeah, I think it's probably more of that you're really in love with him as a prospect and the potential of what you can get out of him. I definitely think he's definitely a day two guy. If he makes it past day two, I'd be really shocked. Just because I do think if he was healthy, he'd probably be first round, day one for sure. But unfortunately, there are some guys that I do feel like that were healthy that showed a little bit more than he did, or whatever. They were able to show a little bit more than he did this year. So that's probably the only reason that he's getting skipped and pushed down.
Having Xavier Watts over the top also helps.
Yes,
as a safety. So that's another guy.
I will say that
guy right there, number two right there. That guy helps.
Yeah, that Notre Dame defense was really good this year.
Mm-hmm.
So there is that factor that goes into it. But he's only one man. He can only play his position. So I still think that he's definitely worth a top 50 pick for sure.
All right. Next we have, I believe this is DG's, Darian Porter.
Yeah, Darian Porter.
Let me bring him up from Iowa State. Iowa State being represented today.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about our guy, Darian Porter.
Man, tested extremely well at the combine. I think blew people's minds at the combine of how well he actually tested. The only issue, he's a project. 6'2", he's tall, he's lanky, he's got great ball skills. He played receiver before he played corner. I think he switched to corner his junior year, I believe. They
I
switched him
believe
to
so.
corner.
I think he's only had 2 years
Yeah.
full time playing corner.
So he's not been at this position very, very long, which for a lot of people would raise concern, especially going to the next level. I think that his obviously his ball skills come from him playing receiver before all of this. But yeah, man, he's got great. The length is off the charts, man. You put him up against. There's not going to be a lot of guys in this league that are going to be able to match his length and size out there or whatever. So you could put him against bigger receivers, and I think he would thrive as far as being able to keep up with them. But there are massive flaws. He's not a very great tackler just because he hasn't been asked to do it very much in the last, especially over his college career. Only had to do it for 2 years to a certain extent. So there are points in times where he can lose his technique on that, and that can kind of cost you. He's definitely in what I call an ankle biter. So he does go low, but it's usually towards the ankles. And in my opinion, in the league, once you get to the league, if you're not a great form tackler, and you're an ankle biter, you whiff on a lot of tackles. So that could be a massive flaw for him. Another thing with him is hip tightness was a big issue for him. Doesn't have very fluid hips as far as back pedal, getting back, turning around, things of that nature. So I think a lot of that is just due to him still learning the position at this point in time. So yeah, man, I think he's a great prospect, but at the same time, I think he's gonna be more of a project his first couple years. If you can get him around, a great coaching staff, he's half. So I feel like Dave Merritt could really work with this guy and get him to the point where he could be a serviceable option for them out there. Kind of reminds me of being able to take over the role of a Josh Williams, who they have right now is a lot bigger corner. But I think this guy would thrive a little bit more just because he's played against higher competition than where Josh Williams played at during his career. So yeah, man, love Darian Porter. Wouldn't have too many expectations of him his first year or anything like that. Maybe would be a guy that's probably a 2 or 3 year project that you would have to work on or whatever. But I think he's got massive potential as far as his athletic testing and what he was able to do. I do think that he would be a plus starter on the special teams though as well. As you've seen in that clip right there. So that's something that I think he could come in and immediately help with. So yeah, Dave Tobe will probably love this guy on the special teams, especially on field goal blocking, punt blocking, things of that nature. But yeah, definitely a day 3 guy. Might be a day 2 guy if somebody's feeling froggy and wants to, work on a project like him. But I definitely think you can get him on day 3.
I like his willingness to do a lot of special teams work. That's something that you kind of have to get a lot of guys to buy into, especially if they're starters, especially if they're higher profile guys. So I think that's that's an asset to him. That's what will get him on the field out the gate. Despite the fact he's not the best tackler, he's actually pretty solid at doing it in special teams. So that also helps. So,
he's willing to do it. He's just not very good.
I like the fact he's a willing tackler, which will earn him points in a SPAG system. But I definitely agree. He's going to have to make his name on special teams first before I think he can really be trusted with significant snaps.
Yeah.
as a corner on defense, at least starting out. I do think there's untapped potential there in terms of the ball skills, and he'd probably be asked to do more man coverage than zone just simply because of his size and because he's not the most fluid athlete, being a taller guy. That's just unfortunately a limitation of us tall people. Sometimes we're not always the most fluid movers. So, look, it's a blessing and it's a curse at the same time. And some people can deal with it better than others. What can I say? But I would definitely, if he's there, 4th round, I wouldn't say no, because you can always use more corners in the room, and Dave Tobe will always bang the table for guys that he thinks could be an asset on special teams. So definitely wouldn't be opposed to having him around.
That's the main thing that's going to get him drafted, is that he's willing to be an A+ special teamer. So, and he can fly. He can absolutely fly.
I was shocked at his 40 time. For his size,
he straight line speed. He can run. He can really run. But I mean, that's obviously probably the reason why he played receiver at first.
For sure. So this is Corey's pick. Obviously, he's not here. This is Kevin Winston Jr. From Penn State, I believe. Now, probably the thing about Kevin Winston is that he is kind of inexperienced due to he got a season-ending injury. He's got the NFL size and traits, but he's kind of like Porter. He's going to be more of a project. Has a lot of potential, especially when you're on that Penn State defense. Just really good, really physical. Sees the guy in open space and can attack. Willing tackler, but I think the inexperience is the thing that's going to, hold him back a little bit. But I mean, based off these highlights alone, you could see he is not afraid to get physical, and he's willing to do special teams. So another Dave Tobe like prospect for the special teams, and a willing tackler that can evolve with Spags, and just what we've seen from drafts lately, in my opinion, are guys that are, especially on the defense, that are able to absorb what Spags is teaching. You saw it with Jaden Hicks. Obviously, you saw it with Trent McDuffie and Jalen Watson. But guys that are able to grow and internalize and just make the most of opportunities that are given to them. And I feel like with Kevin Winston Jr., there's a lot of untapped potential because of the inexperience, but you can see the intangibles, the physicality, the way he's able to attack when guys are in space. I mean, this is a Spags guy through and through, especially being a willing tackler the way we've seen. But I it's kind of the same as Porter, but a little bit different.
He reminds me of Chamari Connor when he was coming out at Virginia Tech. Willing tackler. He has unique ball skills as a more of a strong safety. So he has the ability to go up, get interceptions. He's a willing tackler. He has a hard nose for the football. So that's who he kind of reminds me of out the gate. I don't know if he would be asked to do more of a free safety role or a strong safety role.
Yeah, I was going to say
in the league, he feels like a little bit of an in-between guy. Yeah. So that doesn't help like his cause.
Predominantly plays corner.
And Penn State asked him to be more of a corner than a safety, which depending on who you ask, is probably a contributing factor as to why he got hurt. So I like it. I understand the fit. I understand the idea. Special teams also helps, but I think what his role would be in the offense or in the defense beyond special teams would be a little bit unclear, unlike what Shamari was asked to do when he was coming out at Virginia Tech. So
Yeah, he looks.
I don't hate it. It just feels like he's. I don't know what he would be asked to do in the league based off of what he did in college. Because what he did in college was more corner than safety, just based on personnel they had.
Yeah, it looks like to me it would come. This would be one of those things where it'd be more of a fit issue than a can he actually play issue. He looks more of like a tweener to me, which the league is kind of transitioning to a lot of those guys. But I think for the Chiefs, they kind of already have a tweener in Shamari Connor at this point. So, for me, it kind of boiled down: do you need two of them? But then again, like I said, if he predominantly plays more safety, I wouldn't be mad at it if that's the role that they wanted to, more so see him at or whatever. I just don't see him. It's like he's not. I don't think he's playing a lot of corner snaps. It looks like he's playing from a lot more in the box and safety and nickel, things of that nature. So, but possibly it looks like he can probably jump out there on the outside and play, some corner snaps for you if needed be, or whatever. I haven't seen too much of this guy, so I don't want to sit here and act like I'm bashing on him too much or anything like that, or whatever. But it just for me it would be the fit.
For sure.
Yeah, the talent's there, definitely. It's just I don't know what he would be asked to do. It would depend on what defense he goes to, and specifically for the Chiefs, I'm not certain what his role would be with us. I could see a few teams where his flexible positioning would be helpful.
Yeah.
But when you kind of have a couple of those guys already in Shamari and Jaden and Trent, you kind of have enough moving pieces to where a guy like him you would run the risk of him being kind of shoehorned into a role that doesn't maximize his abilities. So
yeah, for sure.
All right. And now it's my pick for DB. I went with let me get him picked up. I went with K-State's cornerback Jay. I think what sticks out is that he's just really fast.
Oh, Jacob Parrish.
Which, I like how fast he is. I like how physical he is. When it just comes to the one-on-ones, but I mean, he was a 4.35. He's got decent hands. He's got smooth hips, is what I've been told. And he knows how to. He's great at route recognition from a tight man coverage. He's twitchy. Great at deep ball defense. But does he get? His size, I think, is the one thing that some draft people are talking about, where physical receivers can just take advantage. But when it comes to this defense, there's nothing wrong with being really fast, and that's what he is. And I just think he could be a good fit. Not necessarily be like the CB2, but possibly a CB3. But he's got potential, but I understand the flaws that a lot of draft evaluators are seeing with him when it comes to like one-on-ones against very physical receivers.
Yeah. They said he's what, 5'10"?
Yeah. He's kind of that Charvarius Ward type where he may not be he's not the tallest guy. But he's gonna fight for the football.
So he's
And
5'9". Is what you're saying.
no, he's not that. Yeah, okay, look, he's not that short. But
You always know if you're 5'10", if they list you at 5'10", you're about 5'9". You know, on the scale.
yeah,
Look at him about 5'9".
look, he plays taller and he plays bigger than he is, which I always appreciate. Which is what you have to do for corners like him.
Mm-hmm.
His speed obviously helps in man, and like I said, he fights for the football. He's great. He's got great route recognition, so to allow him to be more sticky in coverage than you'd expect.
Yeah.
So he leverages his strengths very well. But yeah, it's the size for me that probably caps his ability to start anyway. Obviously, size is not the end all be all when it comes to corners.
Mm-hmm.
So, not saying he can't succeed, but he's definitely going to have to really, really maximize his strengths in order to have a consistent role in the league. So,
yeah.
But I like how I do like how he stays physical at the point of attack and how he fights for the football, no matter if he's given up 4-5 inches on somebody. So I would say he's probably a late days 2, possibly, depending on what you're looking for in a corner, because he has the requisite ball skills. But he's probably like a round four guy. Don't know if he played any special teams, so he would have to go win a job to get on a 53-man roster. So it would really depend on where he went, I would think.
Seems like a sound form tackler. One thing I'm reading from one of his reports is that I actually liked that jumped off to the screen with me was that's his complex route combinations with veteran savvy, rarely fooled by misdirection, and maintain discipline and leverage against switch concepts, which means he's pretty good at diagnosing switch releases, things of that nature. He doesn't get fooled by those kinds of things or whatever, which tells me he's more than likely he's a very intelligent player on the field. And that's something, especially in the college level, to already kind of ask and grasp at that point is going to translate to the league very well. That'll make a defensive coordinator very happy that he doesn't get fooled by things like that. So if he possesses the intelligence on the field, I would assume that he'll arguably be a pretty serviceable corner out there just off of that alone or whatever, because that's pretty much what most of this, especially at the next level, this game is going to be about. In college, you can kind of get away with talent and just being better than other guys. In the league, you're going to have to play more with your mind.
Are you in the right place?
Yeah.
Did you read that? Did you read that route combo correctly?
Yes.
Things of that nature. So
if he's already got that at this level, then
you could teach everything else.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, the size doesn't bother me at all. Dude.
For sure. All right. Thank you. Might be because I like K-State.
K-State,
we're being honest.
Produces just flat out football players, man. Like
they're a good program.
You can't go wrong grabbing a K-State guy.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we got Chris Paul Jr. I believe that is
my guy.
DG.
Linebackers.
Yes, sir. Definitely a position of need that I feel like the Chiefs are going to have to value in this draft. I think that they need a guy, especially for the foreseeable future, with them signing Nick Bolton. Love Nick Bolton to death. And I think he's obviously a huge, massive fit for what this defense needs. But this defense also needs a guy that can play in pass coverage as well too, and play it at a very high level. and I think Chris Paul Jr. Can definitely do that. Guy that the Chiefs have already met with as well too at the Senior Bowl, so they're very familiar with him. Patient to diagnose run counters and settle into his run fits. Um, like I said, he's very good in zone coverage as well too. That's great qualities in zone coverage and in diagnosing and being able to be keep up with most receivers and most tight ends at this point in time. So I think the only thing for him that's probably going to hold him back and make him in my opinion, probably a day 3 pick is his size. A little bit undersized. I think he's 6'1", 2. He's probably pushing 230, maybe. You know, but can at points in times get overwhelmed in blocking schemes, things of that nature. Not very good at setting the edge, so that's something I wouldn't ask him to do a whole lot of. I know that that's something that Spags asks Leo Chanel kind of to do, and I would hope that he would keep Leo Chanel in that role and allow this guy to be more of his pass coverage linebacker and give him some matchups in that case as well. I think that this would be a guy that they could potentially, if they wanted to move on from Tranquil at some point in time, that they could pass the baton to him. And I think him and Nick Bolton, I think would be phenomenal together as far as a linebacker duo, just because I think he would take some of the pressure that they asked Nick Bolton to do in pass coverage. It would take the pressure off of him to do some of those things and bringing this guy in. So, yeah, love Chris Paul Jr.'s game. Definitely a day 3 guy, in my opinion. Solid day 3 guy, in my opinion.
What are you thinking, Rich?
I like his instincts. I like his willingness to, despite him being undersized, he gets in there. He mixes up in the run game. Has a good feel for when stuff like screens are happening, and gives you turnover potential. Played despite the fact that he was playing in the midst of to put it mildly, star-studded defense. That will probably have 3 draft picks on the defensive line. That says something in and of itself. I believe he was the one who called plays for the defense at Ole Miss, so that helps that he's able to captain a defense. So I think he plays. He doesn't let his size get in the way of making plays. So I think he would definitely be somebody I would look at with a day 3 pick.
Yeah.
But we would just have to see where it goes board wise. Yeah. It's kind of hard when you have 1 4th rounder and 3 7ths, but we would just have to see where the board lands in that regard.
Yeah, just don't expect him to, take on a 300-pound lineman and blow that lineman back.
No, that is not who he is.
His game. So
I like his coverage as well.
Yes,
that is something that's nice to see.
Yeah,
out of linebackers these days.
Yeah, I think your issues with pass catching, running backs, tight ends, things of that nature, I think would definitely go away.
Don't say the tight end word. We had problems with that last year.
Well, this is if you want a guy that's going to do that, Chris Paul Jr. is your guy to go ahead and do that. And that's why I say I think that him and Nick Bolton would make a phenomenal duo, just because of some of the things that Ole Miss asked him to do, he wouldn't have to do here, because Nick Bolton would take care of those responsibilities. And then some of the things that Nick Bolton's not very good at, he would be able to take care of those responsibilities as well. Yeah, I think he's a phenomenal player, man. I kind of see, I think he's a little bit undersized than what Willie Gay was when he was here, but that's the role that I could see him potentially playing for this team again.
Hell yeah. Next we have No, I'm not. I'm gonna probably butcher this guy's name, but
Is it mine?
This is Richard's pick.
Okay, I got
Savion
you.
Jones.
Savion Jones.
Savion Jones.
Savion Jones from LSU. Now, first prelude, a preface to this: the counting stats are not always there with Savion Jones, but what you are getting is a guy who is technically sound, plays within himself, and has what I would consider to be a Greek freak like motor. He is relentless in his rush. He is always giving maximum effort on every play, and the measurables and the traits are elite for a guy his size. 10-inch hands, 33.5-inch arms, which is long, especially for DN standards. He's stout. He's pretty stout in the run game, which is something you want from a guy in Spag's system from the defensive end position. And the theme I go for with these late round picks is moldable athletes. And he is a moldable athlete that I think was a little bit untapped at LSU. Their defense the last couple of seasons is not exactly great, and he also was playing next to another guy that is probably going to be a day 2 pick in Brinson.
Of course, at LSU.
And also, LSU. There's a lot of expectations there, especially when it comes to D linemen. So maybe wasn't everything people were expecting, especially coming into this season, because he was kind of the that was the duo that they had on that defense. That's about it. But I just like how he plays technically sound. There are some things he's going to have to clean up in terms of finding secondary moves, though he does a good job getting himself back into plays. He stays consistent in the pocket. He doesn't overrun plays. He keeps a great anchor in the run game to stretch plays out. So there's stuff that he has to work on. He's probably not I would consider him kind of like the Turk Wharton without the injury development, where it may take a year or two, but this is a guy you could get, I think, solid production out of year in, year out, even if it's not something like 10 sacks a year.
Yeah.
And those are the kind of guys you're looking for in day 3 that you can take and mold and be exactly who you want them to be in a defense.
Yeah. Kind of reminds me of Frank Clark a little bit, in the sense that he doesn't may not possess that elite burst off the line, but just able to play in space just like there, or whatever, set a good edge as well too. Has the size that typically the Spags love. I don't know why they love big locomotive defensive ends, but it's obviously what Spags' system obviously calls for. So I feel like he definitely fits the size profile. But yeah, I think he'd be a great, to me, probably a great day 3 guy if you're looking for it.
I would take him with the 4th. I consistently, if he's there in the 4th round, I say, and we don't have other needs, I say why not?
Mm-hmm.
I think Lance Zierlein kind of hit it on the head.
Mm-hmm.
He's twitchy, he's violent, he's got a relentless motor. He plays within himself, but he still needs to be more consistent overall to really maximize those translatable traits. So I think if you get the right defensive line coach around him, the guy who can unlock the best out of those traits, I think you can get a guy who can find himself on the field in certain situations early and then develop into a guy that you can ask 60, 70% of the snaps out.
I love this rep right here. I love the secondary move, and then being able to climb that pocket and get back to the quarterback as well.
I also like how he doesn't really give up on most plays, even though it seems like it's dead.
Yeah, you don't get the term relentless.
That is probably the thing that scouts like about him the most, is that he just doesn't give up, and he will get himself back into a play.
Yeah.
With just
right here's the biggest
hand movement. Yeah, his hand movement, his ability to just get people off of him, despite the fact he's giving up about 40 pounds to some guys.
It's the reason why George Karlaftis has a job today.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and this is the last prospect by Corey, Mike Green from Marshall. Now I didn't watch a lot of Marshall, so I might not do it justice. But the thing is that he's got explosive power, strong core, and a full tilt motor. He's very physical and very violent, and he's got great burst and leverage that will project him in the backfield. He's instinctive when it comes to rush counters and instant transitions. He's got effective hands, purposeful, and able to get through pass protection. And he has a spin, he has great moves in order to get to the quarterback, which is something, that is perfect for us. We got Charles Menahue, we got George, we got Chris, but it wouldn't hurt to help. I can't even think of the words. It wouldn't hurt to have more help on the edge. And he's just really explosive. I think some of the knocks against Mike is that he's not very lengthy. And that sometimes he overexerts himself to the point where he gets a little tired. Is some of the criticism he gets. He commits so much that it's hard for him to readjust when it comes to misdirection. But I mean, you talk a guy that wants to get to the quarterback and is hungry to sack, hungry for a TFL. This is your guy. And kind of like Savion Porter, or dang it, this has been a long day.
Savion Jones.
Savion Jones, he doesn't give up either. So I don't know where he would be drafted. Probably like maybe an early day 3, and I know he played at Marshall, which last week Corey was like, I don't know if I trust small school defenders, and then he chooses a small school defender for this pick. But I mean, the potential's there, and I like how physical.
I know he was getting a lot of buzz. Senior Bowl practices anyway. He didn't participate in the game, but he was taking just about every offensive lineman that he went up against to task, and it was all over the internet by the end of the day. So I know he had that. I believe he was the prospect that had that weird story come out about the allegations against him. I don't know all the details, but from what I understand, that's probably a little bit overblown. So you can take that as you will.
Do your own research.
Do your own research. Take that as you will. Your mileage may vary if you do not wish to take that chance, and some NFL front offices probably won't.
Yeah.
Just because that's the last thing they need to deal with. But I think the production's there, the effort's there. From what I'm seeing is he does kind of allow blockers to get into his frame, which is why he has to work harder to get off of blocks, and that's where that motor comes from.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily a bad thing, but he just kind of the lack of length definitely shows up even in the highlights. He has to work really hard to get off of blocks.
Yeah.
And this is not the Sun Belt. This is not the MAC, or I believe Marshall's was in the Sun Belt.
Yeah.
Now, yes,
Yeah.
yeah. I watch more Sun Belt football than most, just because my alma mater is Texas State. So I've seen this guy live and in enough games. So I know the talent is there. He has the ability to go be productive. It's just a matter of, is that going to more easily translate than a guy like Savion Jones? He's probably one of those prospects that I have no idea where he's going to wind up.
Yeah.
When it's all said and done in the draft.
Yeah.
Because he has all the talent in the world. It shows up on tape and it shows up in the measurables. But there's just something that somebody doesn't like depending on who you talk to. So he could go anywhere.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah, I think he's, in my opinion, I think he's more of a pass rush specialist than he is probably an every down, 3 down, edge guy. Which to me, if you're having to do a lot of work to get off your blocks, that says that you're not very good at setting an edge. Which means that I can't play you on first and second down. But third and long, yeah, bring him in, allow him to do his job and go out there and get the quarterback. So I think that probably initially him coming into the league, that'll probably be his role more than anything, being that guy on third and long that you put in and you just tell him, hey, this is your one job, go get the quarterback and get him to the ground. I'm not sure on the story of what happened. I don't want to really speak on it too much or whatever. I really don't let that define who guys really are or whatever. I tell people always to do their own research on things like that or whatever and believe what you want to believe. So I know that may be something that may hold him back from being a first round. A lot of these teams do a lot more digging than, the obvious fan would do. So that may be something, but I have seen him in some mock that he does sneak into late first round or whatever, and that may just be basically off his potential of him being a true legitimate pass rusher. This league is, like I said, moving towards, especially with the quarterbacks getting a lot more athletic and being able to do a lot more things outside of the pocket. So he may be serviceable for a team to do that as well. So, yeah, man, I think he's a great prospect. I don't know if the fit for the Chiefs is there, just based off of they typically like I said, bigger edges and guys that are very stout and willing to set an edge in the run game. So it may not be something that fits back system at this point in time. But I'm always down for change. I don't think you can ever have enough edge rushers in your system. So, we'll see, man.
Hell yeah. Those are all the players that we're going over today. Next week, we're going to go over edge rushers. So speak of the devil, edge rushers and linebackers. So very heavy on defense. I just don't think we should be looking at tight ends or quarterbacks, personally. So I think we're good on that front.
Right, later rounds.
Maybe tight end, but that would be extremely
You don't want a backup quarterback?
Maybe, no. That's
how many
funny.
backup quarterbacks are we gonna look at?
Yeah, exactly. How many backup quarterbacks we got on this ship?
Tyler Shaw is a very good backup quarterback.
But we're gonna.
Hey, that could be your third player. Go for it.
We're gonna end on Rich's mock draft 2 they sent us the other day. Obviously, there's gonna be some players that were mentioned today, or just mentioned in general, since we've started the draft evaluation process. But obviously, the floor is yours, Rich.
Yes, sir. So this is why, guys, we're gonna make the offense great again. I promise. This draft right here. If you want gunslinger Pat back, if you want 5,000 total yards back, I personally think this is the draft for you. If you want receivers, we got receivers. We got Luther Burden. We've got Jalen Noel. These are both guys that have been talked about extensively over the past couple of weeks and over the course of the entire draft process. Very good physical guys in Luther Burden, route runner, and Jalen Noel, just to kind of really unlock the passing game while getting very young at the same time. We can roll 60. We can definitely roll 6 deep with these two. Quinshon Judkins is my personal favorite of the two Ohio State running backs, but I don't think you could go wrong with either of them just based on what you see on film and what they did at the combine. DG, I know, is a big proponent of Joshua Farmer out of Florida State. I believe that's one of DG's dudes. Again,
Kingdom Cast, yeah.
moldable athletes, but this guy had the production to kind of match the traits that he has, and I think he would fit very well as a versatile piece in Spag's system. I personally am a fan of getting 2 running backs. Also, side note, Trizzy is here.
Hey,
How you doing?
Spring ball, man. But what's good, Chiefs Kingdom, DG, Richard, what up, baby?
It was good, bro.
Arrowhead AM PM, how we feeling, man? How we feeling? I might have been, wasn't here in physical, but I was here, in the listener. So, I know what's going
you
on.
good.
No, you're good. You're good.
Appreciate y'all, but yeah, we had spring ball, man. Got to get the boys right. It's that time,
Right.
they got me at my alma mater getting these QBs together, man. So, but what we on, man? What's the topic?
I'm a fan of the two. I'm a fan of two of based on how the board falls. If we can get 2 running backs, especially a guy like Tootin out of Virginia Tech. I know the injury is probably the biggest reason, as well as the ball security, why he's going to fall to day 3. But the home run threat ability is there, and I think he would fit as a good change of pace back for this running back room, both now and in the future. And then the 7th round is going back to moldable athletes with great traits who can be versatile on the defensive line and in the linebacker room. Again, Cody Simon's just a football player, man. 50+ starts, captain, consistent throughout his entire career. Nazir Stackhouse, kind of the unsung hero of that Georgia D-line this past season. He's not a sexy pick. He's not going to, again, the counting stats don't jump out at you because he's primarily a nose tackle more than a 3-tech, but he does display the ability to absorb double teams, even split them with his ability. So I think there's something to work with there. And then Patrick Jenkins was just a dude, a man among boys in Tulane. 6'3", 290, kind of that Charles O'Menahu type where you could put him inside, you could put him outside. The length is there, the versatility is there, and I think you could take him. You could mentor him behind Charles O'Menahu to kind of get that versatility out of him, and then maximize the traits that he has. So really, day 3 for me is like who are the moldable athletes that you could bring to supplement the defense, and then the first 4 to 5 picks is let's go make the offense. Let's go make the offense great again. This is my pie in the sky draft for. Okay, you want Gunslinger Mahomes back? Here you go. Here are all the weapons he could possibly need at both running back and wide receiver to supplement what we already have.
And a tackle. Yeah. So for me, like I know we, touching over running backs and receivers. For me, Luther Burden on the board at 31. It's inevitable. I don't care about Joshua. I don't care about the Simmons kid from Ohio State at that point. I don't care about the tackle from Texas at that point. You get a chance to put him with Rice and Worthy and Hollywood. But let's flip the switch. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, I'm in agreement there. Like he's probably one of
Luther
two
Burden
guys
is so good.
at
He could
30.
play in and out. He can go to the outside as a receiver. We don't really have much outside. We got Hollywood who can play both in and out. Obviously, we want to keep Worthy in that slot position. So having a slot like it could be a matchup where it's Rasheed, Hollywood on the other side, Zay in the slot on the inside, Londa ball side, and then we have Luther Burden on the outside in the slot, opposite ball side. Those are four. Those are four big major problems that you got to deal with. But if it wasn't, him, I think the Ohio State kid, either one of those running backs is good. But I think Travion Henderson probably won't fall deep into that second round. So if we got a chance to get our hands on him, either him or Judikins, I love both of those Ohio State running backs for this offense. It complements us very well, especially with the RPO. We can get some guys in space zone reads and blocks. We're pretty good at getting a hat on the hat, and the guys are really good with transitioning into that kind of RPO type style of offense. And I think obviously you need a running back to actually bring that that RPO action back. We had it a little bit towards the end of the year. You seen with Hollywood, and I think that's what made those earlier offensive explosive. Right when you talk about the beginning of the Mahomes era with Sammy Watkins and Brian Pringle and Robinson and those guys, what made that offense so potent was the fact that you had to guard every part of the grass. You know what I mean? So getting guys like that, obviously, in the locker room with Andy Reid, with Patrick Mahomes, with Travis Kelsey, these guys are legends. So having them around that atmosphere where it's you don't have time to button up your chin strap. We gotta win now, win now mode, and obviously with the team going to three straight Super Bowls and having that firepower, having that year after year where you're playing deep in January every year, it's gonna be tough to get back up. You know what I mean? After that, and then we obviously seen how the Super Bowl went, and you say, hey, here's your problem with the offensive line, so you go out and sign some people. I still think the offensive tackle probably is gonna be our first pick if it's not D line. Just because if you got a chance to go get the Ohio State kid, I understand it, based on needs. But like I said, if a Luther Burden's there, Travion Henderson's there, Judikins is there, you know, the defense is playing well. Not to say that we don't need help. We definitely need some help inside, but the offense needs help, man. Like it needs help, and why not go and shore up, and shore up some playmakers, that can make life a little easier for Andy Pat and Co.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Like I said, I don't think you can ever have enough weapons around 15. I think you give him as much firepower as you can give him. Um, I am surprised you went defensive tackle heavy in this.
Hey, well,
But
a lot of that is
We do need some edge help, bro.
we don't have a lot of guys for the future.
yeah.
A lot of them are on 1-year deals.
Mhm.
They're older guys
Yeah.
that at some point they're just not going to come back.
Yeah.
And we don't really have a whole lot behind them.
Yeah.
So really kind of bring those guys. I feel like edge, in a way, we're kind of set there for the immediate future. And from there, we can kind of build inside out with supplement the DT room with young, multiple guys who can learn under these guys who've been in the league for a long time, especially Chris Jones. I think Chris Jones would be a great mentor for some of these guys like Joshua Farmer, like a Patrick Jenkins, who are making that big jump, especially in Jenkins' case, who can learn how he carries himself in the league, how he uses his skills, and they can take and to help them take advantage of the one-on-one opportunities that they're inevitably will see if they get on the field next to him.
Yeah, I think half of Chiefs Kingdom, especially in the first 2 rounds, would love you just because of the weapons that you've
Making
given
the
Patrick
offense great
Mahomes.
again.
And then I think day 3 that a lot of Chiefs Kingdom would probably hate you.
Hey man,
But
look, I
who
understand.
cares, man?
I couldn't fit a corner in. I couldn't fit
Yeah.
a corner in anywhere, man. I know that's the stereotypical
Yeah,
thing at this point, but
it's
man,
just mocks. It's just mocks.
it's just mocks, guys. I look. There's a way everybody looks at them. At a certain point, when you got 3 7th-round picks, man, you just kind of you look for traits. You look for things you can take where one guy does something really well, and say, how can I take that, and maybe eventually get him on the field,
Right.
and just getting smart developmental ball players in the 7th round is kind of the name of the game.
Yep.
And maybe you hit, maybe you don't. But this year, the late round picks, like there's just a bunch of dudes that just kind of fit and play ball and do things maybe not elite, which is why they're third day picks, but they're just solid ball players. Like there's not really a way you could go wrong if you take a couple of D tackles or go grab that linebacker that has 50 plus starts under his belt and has been a captain for 3 years, who could be an instant asset if you have to take your best linebacker off the field.
Yeah.
Or that corner that can definitely play special teams but needs a lot of work in other areas. So
yeah, man, this is it's been a great show. We went over receivers, corners. What else did we do today? Edge guys.
a couple edge guys and a linebacker, but
Yeah.
that'll be
we're
next week.
Gonna continue. Yeah, we moving into next week. We'll be doing edge and linebackers as well too. Moving to those positions. Draft is almost here. I think we're 2.5 weeks per se away from it. So it's definitely gonna be a good time. Definitely trying to get you guys prepared to this point. I know we're throwing a lot of information at you guys, but that's what the draft is all about at this point. Potential information and watching film and highlights and things of that nature. So I'll leave it to we're about to close this out. I'll leave it to Trizzy since he hopped in late. If Trizzy has any closing or encouraging remarks for the Arrowhead and AM and PM fans out there, take it away, Trizzy.
Yeah, eyes on me, eyes on me. First of all, I'm single, ladies. That's the first thing. If you're having a hard time, hit me up. No, I'm kidding. Look, Chiefs Kingdom, the draft is exciting. I understand that, a lot of people are in the air about, kind of the teams. Is the team getting ready to go back to a state to where, we're falling off a cliff, or, I don't think you need to worry about that. Just set in the key to the new guys. Do some homework on Kendall Fuller. He's really, 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 really. I mean, Mr. Fulton. I'm sorry, not Kendall Fuller. He's an ex guy.
Oh, Christian Fulton, yeah.
Christian Fulton. Yeah, make sure you do some homework on him. Welcome the new guys. Make them feel loved, and don't listen to ESPN apps and casuals on Twitter. They know nothing. Okay, we have Patrick Mahomes. We have Andy Reid.
Right.
We're gonna be dancing somehow, some way. All right, we just gonna have to figure it out from scratch once again. New year, new us, but we still us.
With that being said, man, follow us everywhere. Arrowhead AM PM, man, on Twitter at Arrowhead AM PM. Follow us all at our respective Twitters. You can see them at the bottom of the screen. You can find this show on Facebook, Twitter, Spotify, Tidal, anywhere, Apple Podcast, anywhere you want to find podcasts at or whatever. Yeah, man, continue to keep following us for more information. And love y'all, man.
Cheers.
Go Chiefs. We out, baby. Dom, hit it.
I put it all on my shoulders. Give 100 till it's over. I told you.